So I see this a lot from non-Americans, and I don't know how to properly explain that in many parts of the US this isn't rude, but I'm gonna try. In American culture, just because the please isn't said, it doesn't mean that the please is not there. In many parts of the US, and remember, the US is incredibly big, there's different cultures everywhere in the US. But in many cases in the US, we often indicate the please with an upward inflection of our voice instead of saying please every single time. And then at the end of the conversation or the end of the transaction, we say a big old thank you to like wrap it all in a nice bow. And listen, I see how this could be confusing for non-Americans. I see how you might get this indication that Americans are rude because they aren't saying please every single time. But I promise you, most of the time in American culture, not saying the please isn't rude because we indicate it in our voice. Now, don't get it twisted. Don't go thinking that Americans are never saying please, because that is not the case. And there are absolutely times when people should be saying please. I feel like it's a very similar energy to like tipping in the US. Dario, for example, who is Italian, when we go back to the US, he does not know when he is supposed to tip. He's very confused by all of it. He doesn't know if he's supposed to tip like the smoothie bar person or if he's supposed to tip like the person at the coffee shop. Like, he is very confused as to when it's appropriate to tip and when it's not appropriate to tip. But for me, being an American, I feel like when it's appropriate to tip and when it's not appropriate to tip. I don't know how to explain it if you're not American. Like, you know when you're supposed to tip and like when it's appropriate to not tip. And I feel like maybe this is very similar for non-Americans. It can be very confusing as to why you're not saying please, whereas to Americans, I feel and I understand the presence of the please and like the inflection of your voice. I don't know. Does this make any sense? Any fellow Americans want to jump in here? Because I don't know how to explain it better than that.